Welcome to Rise and Thrive. This is the podcast with the leaders who make our communities rise and thrive, and the inspirational stories that we hope will help move you into more community engagement. I'm your host, Patrice Dayton with Thrive West Central in beautiful Terre Haute, Indiana. Today we are talking to Ryan Keller, the CEO of Thrive, and my boss. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Patrice.
Ryan, you have quite the story of going from the school teacher to the leader of the largest or one of the largest economic development districts in the state of Indiana. Can you take us back to the beginning? Tell us how you got to this point.
Sure, absolutely. So it's my professional career is a bit like a crooked stick. It's not a linear progression that a lot of professionals, I think, seek. I really started off being a turf science and agronomy major out of Purdue, and I worked in professional athletics. So I worked in major league and minor league sports, doing turf work at various places around the country. And when I moved back to Indiana, there wasn't a lot of turf jobs here, and decided that I would get into agriculture. And working with farmers, I got into a role where I was doing a lot of problem solving and education, and that was just a wonderful part of my job, and that took me into being an educator. So I became a high school teacher, and then I started working at a university level. And then after that, just through various projects, I got into the nonprofit realm. And really it was around nonprofit education, and it started to merge and blend its way into community outreach. And that led me somehow to Terre Haute, Indiana, and working here at Thrive.
Well, you are a great problem solver and a big ideas kind of person, and very successful at Thrive West Central, solving problems for our community. Everyone has a different definition of success, and I think everyone has a different definition of philosophy of leadership. What would be your philosophy of leadership?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I think when I really think about the philosophy of leadership and what drives success, it's really right in that realm of servant leadership. It's putting the other's needs above our own and going out and really trying to get to the root of the problem and say, how can we have the biggest impact in with that? And being humble in the work that we do, and always kind of going back and reevaluating and not settling just for good enough, and just really refining and honing processes over and over again. And I think at the end of the day, that's the core essence that we found success in at Thrive, and I think so many other individuals do within our community too, that embody that type of leadership style.
And you've been with Thrive West Central 6 years now, is that correct?
That's correct, coming on 6 years.
And in this community, what do you foresee as the biggest challenge that we're facing to date?
The work community is kind of it's kind of broad, or it could be narrow, depending on how you view it. Thrive does a lot of regional work, and so we work on our regional community aspect. So some of the listeners may not realize how big our geography is. So we are based in Vigo County and within the city of Terre Haute, but we really serve 7 different counties, from Vermilion, Vigo, Sullivan, Park, Clay, Putnam, and now our newest member is Montgomery County, where Crawfordsville is located. And most of our core programs are located within those 7 core counties. But then we even have some work that we do beyond that. We serve 13 counties, and some of our data collection work with NDOT and state government. And then we work and serve in statewide capacities in housing and economic development. So when I think of, kind of the myopic view of what does this Terre Haute community really need, and what are some of the biggest challenges, it's the willingness to accept change and growth, and how do you still protect your memories of the past and our history here, but then how do we celebrate that through growth and change? And that's always a balance, I think, in any community, is how do you still respect the past, but then also welcome in and usher in future growth and change?
That's great insight, because we all, I think, are a little bit apprehensive about change. But if you're open-minded, in my opinion, change can be really great. It can be a great adventure. As you know, I faced big changes this year, and it brought me to such a wonderful organization as Thrive. Look at it as an adventure, and in this case, it can be a gateway to economic development for our community, the change that you're representing. But also, failure comes with change or trying new things. But sometimes failure is great. In my opinion, I have learned more by making mistakes. So tell me how failure can help shape your leadership.
That is a great question. I failed a lot in life, and I have the personality that just get back up and let's figure out what we did wrong and try it again. I really think that was rooted in me, one, from kind of an early age and just my parents and grandparents, role models. But it was reinforced with my undergraduate degree and being so focused in the sciences. The scientific method is rooted in failure to a certain degree because you go through and you try you try these things in a controlled fashion in an experiment, and sometimes they work and sometimes they do not. And then you go back and you adjust things again and you try them again. And that has always stuck with me. And that was one of the greatest things I felt as a science teacher when I was early in my career, helping my students learn. I was a biology and anatomy teacher, life sciences essentially. But most of them would come in and they'd be very scared and they'd be very apprehensive and they'd say, well, science is hard and science is difficult and I don't understand why I got to learn this stuff. And I really started the first day with them is kind of saying, lowering their expectations to a certain degree, lowering that fear and say, look, we are here to teach you how to be a problem solver. And with that, you're going to practice this thing called a scientific method day in and day out. And here's the great thing. You already know how to do all this. You do it every single day because you get out of bed, you get dressed, you eat breakfast, you get on a bus or you get in a car and you make it to school and you make it to school on time. And so every single one of those is a problem that you have already solved through this method. You just didn't really know that it was a refined method. And so that has led me through my career of not being afraid to go into business or into into any environment and have a really great plan put together, but things may not always go to plan and we may fail. And I look at that as you're one step closer to success because you know that one way that you tried doesn't really work and you go back and you refine it and you do it again. We do that at Thrive day in and day out. And luckily, I work with so many talented folks well beyond my levels of talent, and they help refine that process over and over again until we really find success, and it's just wonderful.
Well, and being a good leader really takes, in my opinion, lots of talent. It takes a special person. You lead 52, 53 people, correct, right now?
I think that sounds about right.
Some of that being a good leader is finding good people underneath you and having trust in them. How does that work for you at Thrive? How do you have success with the good people that you have?
So I really think that talent attraction and retention is always top of mind at Thrive. It's something that we started when I first kind of came on. I looked at what the culture was like. That was back in the days when it was West Central Indiana Economic Development District and the Area 7 Agency on Aging and Disabled Services. Quite the mouthful, which is why we went through the rebranding initiative to Thrive. But we really looked at what caused people to want to stay, what caused people to enjoy their job. We spend so much time in our professional careers with our professional colleagues. What are the things that really are meaningful to people? And we've based most of our HR policies and our benefit structure and our leadership style all around the things that brought us together that made working more enjoyable. We also have structured our our kind of hierarchy within Thrive as an inverted pyramid of leadership. And so I look at that as I'm really on the bottom, and the foundation of that pyramid is our board of directors. And it's representative from all member counties that we have, all 7. We have 5 from each county. And then it comes to me. And then on top of that, then it goes to our senior leaders, and then our, kind of mid-level associate directors, and so on and so forth, all the way out to our clients who are on the very top. And I always describe that to anybody who comes on board is, think about it this way: things that are light and heavy float up and out of that inverted pyramid, and they go out to our customers. Things that are not so much, that are heavy and messy, well, they roll downhill, and I'm where they stop, and then I will help you and anybody else fix those things, and then we lift them back up and out. So I think having that kind of structure in place and that philosophy in what we're doing really has helped our attraction and retention. When I first took over, we had a pretty high turnover rate, and now our turnover rate is almost non-existent. Most folks, when they come to Thrive, the only reason we're finding them leaving is if there's a major life incident where they need to, or we're helping them advance their career to bigger and better things. And that's I think the way that it really should be.
I love the rebranding you did, too. One simple word, thrive, but it means so much. We believe in helping communities thrive. Everybody wants that. We want that for our region, for the Wabash Valley. We need more civic engagement. We need more leaders. We need more volunteers. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking, I don't know if that's me?
I would say, why don't we try something together? Why don't we get a friend and we go and try something? Let's have low expectations. Let's set, just maybe I would like to do a volunteering activity in my community, and my only goal is getting out there and meeting 5 new people, or putting a smile on a few people's face. And let's not put so much pressure on ourselves in those kind of activities when we go out and we get engaged, because everybody has a lot going on, and we all have reasons why we're too busy to get engaged. And I think a lot of that is fear. It's just, well, what if I go and do this and I don't like it? Or what if I do this and I'm not any good at it? Mm-hmm. Most of the time in those kind of activities, it really is, once you get there, you usually have a pretty good time. And you're like, I'm glad I did that. So I think from the community engagement standpoint, grab a friend and say, we have low expectations, but we're going to just go try something. From a civic engagement, we do need a lot of folks, and it takes a lot of talent and ideas from all sides, all walks of life to make our community thrive. So when it comes to doing that, I encourage everybody to get out and really be open-minded and start to find ways to have dialogue and be thoughtful with each other, and go out and do things. The West Central Indiana Partnership is now doing a civic engagement series, and I would invite anybody and everyone to go and join that kind of initiative. There's lots of leadership opportunities here in the Wabash Valley, as well as throughout the state. I'm a continual student of leadership, so anytime I get an opportunity to go do a thing like that, I always, take it up. And so I think my advice is let's just get out there and jump in, try it, and then let's talk about ways that, things you like, things you didn't like, and kind of refine that and hone you into doing something. But we've lost a piece of that in our society, that there was a lot more engagement before we had things like the internet and Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I largely think it's because people were a little bored. And when you're bored, you go out and you find things to do. Well, now we have all the creature comforts in our own homes mostly. It's easy for me to want to come home and scroll on my phone for an hour. Instead, before I had that device, you had that opportunity, you would say, well, what am I going to do for an hour? I'm not just going to sit here and stare at the wall. I'm going to go engage and I'm going to go do something. So put the phones down and let's go interact with each other. And I think you'll find quite the rewarding experience.
We've got to get back to the basics. That's what that is, the basics of human interaction. And you're right. It's great advice, whether it's anything you're going through in life. Baby steps. Just got to take those baby steps. And then you'll maybe find your niche. Maybe civic engagement is your niche, running for office. Maybe being a leader of a team or volunteering at the whatever it may be, just to make your community a little bit better. That's wonderful advice. Anything else that you'd want to talk about, where you see our community in the next 12 to 18 months, where you'd like to see our community in the next 12 to 18 months, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had a magic wand, let's say, so to speak, I would really like to see our business community really, really engage in a lot of the development here throughout our region. And it doesn't matter if you're a business member in Terre Haute or in Brazil or Greencastle or anywhere else. Really engage in what is going on from an economic development and community development standpoint, as well as a quality of life standpoint, because your business will benefit. And what I've noticed and what I've seen we compare a lot to other communities and other regions around Indiana and the state, always to ourselves. Comparison is the thief of joy, but you can also learn a lot through comparison. And we look at Lafayette, we look at Fort Wayne, we look at Evansville here in Indiana, we look at Nashville and Austin, Texas, and you look at all these places, and they say, well, what do they have that we don't have? And often what I see is they have very, very engaged business leaders. I mean, more so than what we have here. Mm-hmm. And then they really believe in the power of planning and setting future goals. We have plans but a plan is something that's a living, breathing document. It should be at every meeting, and it should be open, and they should be saying, are we putting our efforts all in achieving this plan? I've very seldom been to meetings where they finish their comprehensive plan, and then it's like, we did such a great job. Let's put this over here on this shelf, and we are going to look at it in like a year or two. But I think the communities that really dig down and they plan and they get that plan and they work it, they find huge rewards and success. And so that would be my call out. Some communities are doing this already in our region. The city of Terre Haute in their community plan, they've really worked that a lot. Greencastle has been really doing a good job with their plan. The city of Brazil as well. But we have other communities that they're a little smaller. Planning really does matter, and engaging your business community and your business leaders and minds matters as well.
Wonderful. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Clay County boy that lived here, was raised in Clay County, moved away, came back, correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
That's what we want as people. We want people to come back to their home.
If you would have talked to the 18-year-old version of Ryan Keller, I swore off this place. There was nothing to do. I was never coming back. I was moving somewhere else, and I was so fortunate to really be able to see what the U.S. looked like. And, early in my career before I ever came back, I think I had visited or lived in, something like 30-some states. So I really got a great opportunity just to travel as a young adult and really compare what is it like in other states, and what is it like to work and live somewhere else. And boy, this place in West Central Indiana, it really is something special. I never would have guessed it, but I had a longing to come back to this area because there's great people and we have great community values. There's really a lot of amenities here that other places just don't have. Mm-hmm. And we think often, I think of commercial amenities. So we don't have a Target or we don't have some other store that we'd like to go. But when you really think about cultural amenities, and community life and amenities, we have a lot of those right here.
Sure.
And I think it's a reason that so many of us stay and we never leave. We sometimes get a little grumpy that we want more, but it's a great place. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. And this was the only place I could imagine really raising a family, was here in West Central Indiana. And so I came back.
Well, we're glad you did. You're doing great things for the community.
Thank you.
Ryan Keller, CEO of Thrive West Central, and a very good boss, by the way. Our very first special guest. We thank you very much. The Wabash Valley needs role models and leaders. We hope you will rise up and help our community thrive. I'm Patrice Dayton. Have yourself a great day.